Raider Nation, what's good? Jesse Merrick here. Welcome into another episode of the Silver and Black Sports Network podcast. On today's show, we're diving into Kenny Pickett. It's looking like he'll get the nod this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Isn't it funny how that works out sometimes? Matt Perrault and I dive into what he brings to the table as the Raiders signal caller, and I explain what element I think that he adds that Geno Smith hasn't this year and why it could help him against that Philly front. That's a really gnarly group up there. Plus, we dive into that bad beat from last week against the Broncos. If you had the under and the Broncos to cover, yeah, you got screwed on that last second kick by Pete Carroll there. And always, we've got the best Raiders plays of the week and Matt's best bets heading into the weekend. But before we get it rolling, I've got a question for you. What are you expecting out of Kenny Pickett? Are you happy that he's going to play, or are you actually in the Aiden O'Connell camp? He's going to be the number 2 quarterback, it seems. Personally, I think that we got to see what Kenny has in extended action, and we've already seen Aiden, but I want your guys' take on that matter. So, in the meantime, let's get it rolling and dive into Raiders Rounders with our homie Matt Perrault. All right, Matt, we're back for week 15 of Raiders Rounders. As we always do, we have to take a trip back down memory lane for the previous week, and I know you have a lot to say about this week. Let me just set the table for you real quick here on this one, all right? So in Rounders last week, the total for the game was 40.5. We said take the under. We also said take the Broncos as 7.5-point favorites. And then another one as an aside, not necessarily what you're going to dive into much here, but we did say take Bo Nix rushing over. That was 16.5 yards. He finishes with 15. Just ridiculous. So close on that one. But the ending, the bad beat of the year, which didn't make it on actual bad beats on SVP, which was wild to me. The floor is yours, Matt. Go ahead and dive into it all. Your read on it. I know you're fired up about this one.
Yeah, look, I think, well, first, let me say this at the top, because I've seen this in my own social media interactions with people, and I've seen it posted different places where people are like, gamblers are really annoying. You guys are super annoying. And I just want to remind everybody that watches football that without gamblers, you don't get anything that you have right now. You don't get Monday Night Football. You don't get Sunday Night Football. You don't get Thursday Night Football. The reason why you have standalone games is because of gambling and the eyeballs that it brings from people who put money down on those games. So let's just make that perfectly clear that everything you enjoy comes from people like me who look at the game and bet on the game. So with that stated, what happened and the reaction from it, look, I don't think it's fair for someone, and Dave Portnoy is a famous guy who is from Boston. He's from my neck of the woods. I'm from the North Shore of Boston. He's from the North Shore of Boston. I'm 48. He's 48. Like we have very similar lifestyles and past lives and people that we know. I'm never going to call for the murder of anybody. Okay, that was completely ridiculous and over the line and crazy. But the decision and the explanation of that said decision by Pete Carroll afterwards didn't make any sense, and it still doesn't make any sense to me. And I understand people are going to say, well, wait a minute, you're always trying to win the game. There's 6 seconds left. The flag, I had a bigger problem with the flag than I did even on the decision, because calling that penalty stopped the clock, which allowed Pete Carroll to kick the field goal. If that flag is never thrown, we're not talking about this. The game has run out, the clock's run out, and the game is over. So now I think Pete Carroll knew the spread. I'm sorry, I do. I think we all live here. It's impossible not to know what the numbers are. I don't know if he knew what the team total was, which was 15.5. I'm not sure if he knew what the total at 40.5, or he knew that it was a spread of 7.5 or 8.5 because that's where the number was. But I'm going to bet that if you give Pete Carroll truth serum, he would know what the spread is. It's on marquee billboards here in town. When you're driving down the highway, it's Raiders, Broncos -9, come bet here. Like, that's just what we live with here. The local Fox affiliate here in town did a story in the A block for you news geeks. The A block had a story about the kicked field goal by Pete Carroll. So we live and breathe this stuff. So Pete Carroll, sorry, you can't plead ignorance that you didn't know what that field goal was. But I also don't think the games are fixed. I also don't think the games are rigged. I don't think there's some big cabal or some, puppet master up there who's controlling everything. I think Pete Carroll wanted to send the fans home. He wanted to score as many points as possible and send the fans home. It was a win-win situation for him to kick that field goal, and he could easily disguise it in a bunch of different ways of like, well, we went to the officials and we tried to get more time put on the clock because we want an onside kick. So in 6 seconds, you're telling me you're kicking a field goal, you're having an onside kick, and you're recovering the onside kick, or you're getting a flag against Denver for what? Some type of personal foul call that's going to get you the football that then lets you have an untimed down where you're going to throw a Hail Mary and you're going to catch the Hail Mary. Like, come on, guys. Like, just use our brains for just 1 second. That was never going to happen, and that was never factored in, and that's not what the Raiders were trying to do. The simplest thing is they kicked the field goal because they wanted to send the fans home happy and score as many points as possible.
Yeah, look, I mean, this has been a year where points has been really hard to come by for the Raiders. And, I can see everybody in the comments with the tinfoil hats breaking this one down. Obviously, you sent out the video clip of them kicking the field goal. And we're like, hey, Jesse, I need answers on this one. And that blew up on Twitter, understandably so, because of bad beat for so many people involved. Look, I will say with Pete, he said that he felt like he had an argument to get it back to like 10 seconds, I think he was saying, as he's sitting there arguing with the officials.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I missed that. He said how could you get the clock back to 10 seconds?
Yeah,
because the ball?
He was
ball
thinking
getting knocked out of. Oh,
he was thinking there was a discrepancy with the clock and stuff, so that's what he was saying. And then he even did admit, I will say, like, he had admitted that, like, once he realized, like, how much time was on the clock, he knew it was going to look really stupid, so I'll give him credit for that, I personally do not think that Pete knew what the spread was. And I get what you're saying. We live here in Vegas. It is all over the place. But you know how these football guys are. They are so much, like, in their lane, in their cocoon. I don't think Pete Carroll gives a damn about it.
He has two sons, right? He has two sons about my age, right? Like somewhere in that range,
also
right?
Coaches on the team, but yeah,
right. Who also lives in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Come on now, like again, come on now. It's okay that they know the spread. Every player does. Every coach does. They all know in every sport, in every game now. Everyone knows. They always knew before anyway, but now they can be honest about it. And they say, watching the Pete Carroll interview, just the fact that he acknowledged, like, I might look stupid. Like, so wait, hold on a second. So that was like going through your brain, like you were having that in real time. You were talking to yourself about that. I didn't think that answer helped his cause at all about what he was trying to accomplish. And you could have thrown a Hail Mary. You weren't going to get all the things you needed in 6 seconds, even in 10 seconds. You're not getting that whole thing to go the way you need to go. There's not enough time. So do whatever. It's first down. The problem also I had was it was first down. He would have been saved if it was fourth down. And on fourth down, okay, run the kicker out and kick the field goal. Like, that's what you have to do. But on first down, you don't have to kick that. That's a choice to kick that field goal. You are choosing to do that. And that's why I think people were so angry.
Yeah, in that regard, I totally get the uproar and everything like that. And it's like, if you're trying to score the most points possible, like, hey, why not just chuck it up into the end zone, jump ball drill and see what happens there in that regard. That, I think people would have been still pretty pissed off if it actually resulted in,
But that's fine, though, because that's playing in the general nature of the game, right?
Yeah.
If you get a bad beat, how many times as gamblers have we had end-of-game situations where it's just oh, my gosh, that just happened? Mm-hmm. So fumble recovery for a touchdown. It happened with the Jacksonville game with the Texans this year, right? So the Texans were I think they were 1 point favorite or 2 point favorites, and they're down by one. On the last play of the game, Trevor Lawrence gets picked off by a defensive lineman who rumbles into the end zone to score and cover on the last play of the game. That just happens. That's not. No one's mad at Trevor Lawrence, or no one's mad at the coaching staff saying, like, why were you passing in that moment? Because they were trying to win the football game. That's just how it's just a bad beat. You got, that's just football.
Yeah.
This was a choice. This was a choice by a coach to do this, to kick a field goal, knowing you could not win the game, and you're trying to shrink the margin that you're losing by, which is the definition of gambling, and that's why people got angry.
Yeah, totally understand it in that regard. And, it was a wild finish. So many of us, you and I, like I said, we text back and forth throughout the game, seeing if some of the things from Raiders Rounders are going to hit. And obviously this was one where it just busted in a big way. Like I said, a real bad beat. I thought Bo had a chance to go over that one. The fact that he finishes 1 yard shy, or I guess 1.5 yards shy.
We had been hot. We had been hot. I think we hit like for 4 straight weeks. We hit. So we were due for this, like, course correction, and we were due for a comeback down to earth type of game. It's just not that. I mean, the under was there. The cover was there. Fine. We miss on Bo Nix. We go 2-1 and we're fine. It's a good day. They have it all kind of go down with one decision by the head coach. That is why. And look, I don't know if Dave actually lost $250,000. He very well might have. He's got that type of money to do. But losing $5 or $250,000, people's anger when they lose money because they feel like they got screwed over, that's the problem. And it's really funny because it's Raider people in Vegas, Raider fans who were mad. Like Raider fans who bet against their own team, they're angry about this. So it is kind of a weird spot that the people that know football the best from a betting perspective who live here in Vegas are Raider fans, and they're angry about what the Raider coach did.
It is funny when you're fading your own team, but that's such is life, for many Raiders fans out there right now. And now they turn the page and take on the Eagles. And man, this is a big number right now. It opened at 11.5 though. And you said, as we tape here on Wednesday night, that Circa's already up to 12.
I think we're going to see 13s and 14s once Kenny Pickett gets announced as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, officially.
So I think I don't, by all indication, whenever you see here on a Wednesday into a Thursday, whenever you see Adam Schefter and company be like, the quarterback is day to day, and if he can't play, Kenny Pickett is being prepared to start. He's taking the reps with the one. That means the shoulder injury is significant, and there's not a need to play a quarterback who's hurt in a meaningless game. And frankly, it's better for the Raiders to lose this game. So sit Geno, let Kenny Pickett play. It's going to be ugly in Philadelphia. It's going to be cold, nasty, and an angry Eagles fan base waiting for the Raiders.
No, definitely. And I do want to talk just a little bit about the quarterback situation. Again, we're recording this early, but all signs are pointing to Kenny Pickett being the starter. I would be shocked if Geno ends up playing in this one. So let's just talk a little bit about Kenny Pickett. Now, you and I have different views. I think you're further on the spectrum in terms of like what he provides to the team. And I think he provides them a little bit better of a, option just in terms of mobility and things like that. But I'm curious, I'll offer my thoughts. I'm curious your take on Kenny Pickett right now as the Raiders quarterback and how it affects things in this game.
He's awful. He's awful. I used to call him Kenny Two Gloves when he was playing in Pittsburgh. He would play with two gloves because he couldn't handle the cold, even though he played football at Pitt, which is really weird. He didn't like playing in the cold, so he wore two gloves on, one on either hand. Accuracy has always been an issue for him. He tends to throw balls late and high. He gets his receivers in really precarious positions, and I think against this Eagles defense, against that secondary, it's really going to be problematic. I think the fact that the running game has never been fully established by the Raiders, it puts so much pressure on the quarterback to be accurate and to be on time with his throws. Against this team that has lost 3 games in a row, here's my hope. As a Patriot fan, as somebody who's watching football and someone who holds a ticket on the Cowboys to win the East, I have a 7-1 ticket that I bought in August.
Yeah, I remember that.
This has to be, they need to lose one of these games against either the Raiders or the Commanders, because I do think the Eagles will lose to the Bills. But if they go 2-2 and the Cowboys run the table, which is very possible, the Cowboys win the division. So the Raiders winning this weekend would be an unbelievable gift to me if that were to happen. It would make up for the Pete Carroll kicking the field goal if that were to happen. So if you want to do me a solid, Pete, go win the game.
Fans are going to be hating to hear that, yeah.
I don't think this is going to happen. And frankly, I'm laying the 12 points with the Eagles.
Yeah, no, I would agree on that for sure. Obviously, I'll be giving my pick for this game later, but I think everybody knows which way I'm going in this one.
The total's 38, guys. To give you an idea. The line's 12, and the total's 38. To give you how many points I think the Raiders are going to score in this game.
Exactly, and that's the thing I want to get to, too, is like weather obviously seems like it could be a factor, in terms of possible snow and just temperature. You noted Kenny struggling in cold weather and things like that, even though he did play at Pitt and he's from the Northeast. We talked to him, this week, and he mentioned the fact that, he's from that area, likes to play in those types of games and things like that. But, I personally am curious to see how Greg Olsen uses his athleticism and gets him on the move. We haven't seen it enough with Geno in terms of the usage of the athleticism. Too many times up in the press box, we're screaming like, run, tuck and run, tuck and run. I don't think Kenny will have that issue, especially behind this patchwork offensive line. That's one thing where it's like, hey, look, having that mobility could help, could play a factor. Just give the defense something else to think about. Not that I'm saying that Kenny Pickett is some otherworldly quarterback, obviously, but I think given where they're at and the makeup of this offense right now, I'm curious to see what Kenny Pickett's going to provide. I still personally do, and this is an unpopular opinion, think that Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett right now.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an
Oh.
unpopular opinion, but it is to many fans out there right now.
Oh, it's not even a debate.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry if you think that the Geno is not better than Kenny, you haven't been watching close enough. Like
exactly,
Geno Smith is way better than Kenny Pickett. Way better than Kenny Pickett. And this is why he's bounced around, was it 3 teams in 4 years? I mean, there's a reason for that, guys.
Yeah.
Like the quarterback, I mean, look at the Colts just went and got a 44-year-old grandpa to come play. Teams are desperate for quarterback talent. If you can play the position even a little bit, you're going to get a shot. Geno's a much better quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more. But again, I know a lot of fans very emotional with the Geno Smith thing and all the turnovers and all that. They feel a certain type of way about him. But I think you look at his career and who he's mostly been, or at least in recent history with the Seahawks. And I know the turnovers have still been there, but that's part of his game. But man, the deep ball accuracy and even just the accuracy in general and who he's been. I know he's had some solid receivers there when he was in Seattle. But still, I think Geno's a good QB, and it just hasn't quite worked out for him. There's been so many other factors. I think the rational fans can't admit that. But as it pertains to this game, too, you were talking about the number there. So you think take the under on this one as well? Or the number, we said 38.5, right?
I just think you lay it with the Eagles because the Eagles could score 40 themselves. Yeah. Like, I look, this Eagles offense needs a breakout game. They need to quiet down, and the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, they need to quiet down the people in Philadelphia who want that guy gone. So I would be a little bit afraid about 38 and going under, just given the Eagles are not going to stop scoring in this game. If they can hang 40 on the Raider defense, they're going to hang 40 on the Raider defense. So I would be worried about that. So I'd stay away from the total. I think the easiest number is just to lay the 12 with the Eagles and just be done with it.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move probably. I mean, the Eagles need a win in a bad way. They've kind of fallen on hard times. I think that's sadly enough, I hate saying it, but like it's a get right game for them and at the perfect time for them too as well. And I think a lot of Raiders fans that realize where they're at right now can admit that. So I'm real curious to see how this one looks. At the end of the day, though, I think many fans just hoping to see the Raiders be competitive and provide some building blocks and lose in order to maintain the draft positioning. That's what I thought that they did in this last game, somewhat competitive against the Broncos. We saw a lot of the young guys play, and those are the things that you're pulling away now. It's like it's about the young guys and your read on them, what building blocks they provide to fans, and then also, again, draft positioning. Number one there, but don't tell that to the coaching staff. They don't want to hear any of that. That's for sure. As for us, man, let's keep it rolling because there's some pretty big numbers here this weekend. Another one, 13.5 in terms of the Jets and the Jags. The Jags coming in here is 13.5 point favorites for Trevor Lawrence. That's kind of interesting. I know the Jets are bad, but still.
Yeah, this is the biggest number in the history of Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's never had a number. 10 has been the highest he's ever had. So we're seeing a big number, obviously, because of what's going on with the quarterback spot for the Jets. You know, Tyrod Taylor being injured. I was on the Jets the last 2 weeks. I'm not on the Jets this week. The Jags, I think, are going to put up a big number here. And the Jets are in big trouble. I think this week, there's big numbers all over the board. I think you can lay it. I think betting on teams in December, the big number, you can lay the big number. Not in November, not in October, but in December, this is where you see blowouts all over the place. And the Jets are just, they're 7-6 ATS this year overall, so they fought hard. But Jacksonville has been playing really well. Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen, they got something cooking right now, and they know what's going on for the Texans. They got to win. This is a must-win game for them. I think you see a blowout in Jacksonville, regardless who plays quarterback for the Jets. I think it's a big win for the Jags.
Yeah, and speaking of big numbers, it's not a massive number, but in terms of quarterbacks getting a big number for themselves, we got the Browns and the Bears. Caleb Williams and the Bears coming in as 7.5 point favorites over Shador and the Browns.
Let me ask you this, okay? Wind chill for this game is going to be -10.
Is that a lot?
If someone gave you a free ticket to go to the game, would you go?
No, I'm not going to watch Bears and Browns right now as the Browns are currently constructed. Heck no, not in weather like that.
It looks like air temperature is going to be about 8 degrees at kickoff with a wind chill of -10 between the Browns and Shador Sanders on the road to the Bears. Look, this is an under. I don't bet weather, okay? I bet wind unless the term is historic. When you start to see the word historic, this is going to be one of the coldest games in the history of Soldier Field.
Man,
Bears been playing football for a long time.
I was going to say that phrase is a crazy thing to say about Soldier Field when you think about it. It's the freaking Windy City, and you're telling me it could be one of the coldest ones ever on record there?
Yep.
That's wild.
39.5. Bet the under.
Good God.
Just bet the under.
Yeah. We're sitting in Vegas. I'm getting cold just thinking about that. Screw that. Like you said, free ticket, box seats. I don't care. I'm not going to that game unless I got like heater and I'm fully enclosed.
I may not go in a suite. I may not go in. Just you put me in a luxury suite. I may not go to that game given negative 10 wind chill. That's going to rip through everything.
Jeez, man, that's crazy. That's a different part of the country right there. Respect to the folks that can live in that and do that. I'm a guy who I lived as far as Alabama, and I know you lived out there as well. The folks don't know our history in terms of that regard there. But, I'm not doing that type of weather. Midwest weather, unreal. That's like I said, just crazy.
I paid my penance living in Omaha, and Des Moines. Exactly. So I paid that. I know what that feels like. It is not fun to do anything, let alone get tackled in an NFL football game.
Oh, it's just different. Like, so I actually was having this conversation the other day with my girlfriend. Like, we were talking about when I was in college, I played football, Division II university, and we went to Montana and played Carroll College in the middle of a blizzard. It was negative 17 degrees. Brutal. Like, I mean, that was the thing again, where like you're standing over by the heater, gloves and cleats are melting because and you're like, okay, what are we going to do? I can't melt my gloves and cleats, but I don't want to be freezing cold. And like, it just like felt like we were throwing rocks out there with the football. The ground feels like you're playing in a parking lot. Like, again, these guys are built different. I could not imagine being hit by a high schooler in weather like that, let alone a middle linebacker in the NFL and weather like that.
Caleb Williams played his college football where again?
Exactly.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sunny Southern California, a place that I know and love all too well. That's why I'm a wuss when it comes to the weather. That's for sure. You and I had very different experiences with weather growing up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's keep it rolling, man. Speaking of teams that play in some brutal weather, the Bills and the Pats. The Bills are heading to New England to take on your Pats. This one's going to be a fun game, man. A real small spread on this one. The Patriots coming in as 1.5 point dogs. They are sitting, though, at 11-2, looking like one of the better teams in football. Obviously, we know the Bills have Josh Allen, and he is that dude. How do you wrap your head around this game and that number?
Well, here's the thing. The Broncos and the Patriots are both home dogs this week.
Yeah.
They've both won 10 games in a row. This has happened 3 times in the history of the NFL where a team is at home on a 10-game win streak and they've been a dog. But the other 2 times, backup quarterbacks were playing. Only one time has the starting quarterback for the team that has won 10 games in a row ever been a dog at home. This is really a unique situation for both Bo Nix and Drake May to be in, and I frankly think they're both going to win. I think Drake May is winning. It's a hat and T-shirt game for the Patriots. That means they clinch to the division. If they win this game, they win the AFC East. And then for the Broncos, they're at home where Bo Nix is a much better quarterback, and it's a small number. They're catching 2.5. Pats are catching 1.5. I think both these teams win outright. They both win their 11th straight games. But from the Patriot perspective, this is just disrespect. I mean, the Bills are 6-1 at home. The one loss to the Patriots. They're 3-3 on the road. And they lost in domes to the Falcons and other teams. Like, this is not the same team on the road than they are at home. And their defense just isn't very good. Drake May and the Patriots, money line, outright win.
Yeah, no, it's interesting with both of those, like you said, with the Broncos too being home dogs. Just a crazy thing. One of those weeks where you just look at it and you're like, wait, what? Like,
right.
Not to dog the Bills or the Packers, like 2 good teams, but given how solid the Broncos and the Pats have been, a little surprising. And I know a lot of people saying, like, is it sustainable what the Broncos are doing and stuff like that against good teams? No, you and I both on the same page on that. We'll see what they do come playoff time. But in terms of wrapping this thing up, man, another really interesting game, just given what's happened to the Colts and the fact that they have 65-year-old Phillip Rivers, Mr. AARP, coming out of retirement with his 50 kids to go on and take on Sam Darnold and the Seahawks at home up there in the Pacific Northwest. One, that's just brutal for the Colts, given what Danny Dimes was doing this season. You hate to see that for him or any player. So that's real tough. But the number itself, again, another big one. The Seahawks are 13.5-point favorites at home against what we all presume, like, it's got to be Phillip Rivers, right?
Why would you sign him if it's not going to be Phillip Rivers? So it might not be. but I don't get why you bring in a 44-year-old if you don't play him right away for the Colts. But, maybe they go a different direction. I don't care who plays. This is about Sam Darnold and the best defense in the NFL. I mean, this Seahawks team, Sam Darnold, when he is favored by 6 points or more, it's happened 11 times as a starter in the NFL where he's been laying 6 or more. He has never lost. He's 11-0, and he's 9-2 against the spread, 13.5. I think you can lay it. I think you can alt spread it to 17. The Seahawks shut out the Vikings 26-0 in their last home game. I think it's a very similar type of situation here. We're talking about 3 to 6 points for the Colts. They just don't have a quarterback that can do anything. Even with Jonathan Taylor running the football, the Seahawks are going to pin their ears back and stop Jonathan Taylor. And then that secondary is legitimate for Seattle. So you can go there. One more quick one on the way out for Monday night, because this might be the bet of the year, okay? And I'm not saying, do anything stupid here, but the fact that the line is 3.5 for the Steelers against the Dolphins at home in freezing temperatures, Tua can't play in the cold. Mike McDaniel's record on Monday Night Football and in primetime is abysmal. Mike Tomlin is dynamite, and I mean dynamite, on Monday Night Football. And at home, the Steelers are 22-0 over their last 22 games on Monday Night Football.
22-0. That's an insane number.
22-0. So to give you an idea, the Steelers are winning on Monday.
Yeah.
The margin of victory is the question. It's 3.5. Steelers win, Steelers cover on Monday.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that one up, just because I want to talk a little bit about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers as we close this out. Like, we've kind of turned this into a bit of a football talk Friday, which I like doing from time to time. I just like the disrespect of the reports out there all the time of, like, are they going to move on from Tomlin and all that stuff? Like, I don't know, maybe you feel differently about him, but, like, what's your take on Tomlin and all the talk around, or people saying, like, oh, is this the year they move on from, or maybe he needs to go to college, or you even hear that at times? Like, how do you wrap your head around Tomlin as a coach? Like, to me, because I just think he gets dunked on a lot more than he should have. And I know they're sitting there at 7-6 right now, but, like, it just, I don't know. To me, I don't quite get it in terms of Tomlin and people just kind of dogging him and saying it's time for them to move on and all those things.
Yeah. I mean, in the last 50 years, the Steelers have had 3 coaches.
Yeah.
So to give you an idea of what happens, I think, with fans, is that fans tend to think the grass is always greener. And so because Tomlin has this ridiculous streak of going 500 or better, and the fact that he hasn't had a losing season, and yet he only has one championship, and that championship comes from Ben Roethlisberger, and they haven't been able to replace the quarterback spot since Ben Roethlisberger, and thus he's getting blamed for the inefficiencies in the front office. He's only coaching with the roster that he's got in front of him. Mike Tomlin will have a job within 12 hours of the Steelers firing him. He will be hired immediately. He is a dynamic leader of men. It's a different. There are coaches in the NFL, and then there are leaders of men. Mike Tomlin is a leader of men. People will do anything and everything for that guy. And you hear, his veteran players about the impact he's had, not on their football career, but on their life. Like what he has meant as a human being to them, as a mentor, as a person. Like that is a guy that if he's the coach of your franchise, you're really proud that that's the coach of your franchise. I just think the Steelers are frustrated with the success of the Ravens and the Chiefs and what's happened with the Bills and the AFC, that they want to be a 12-win football team every year. They want to be dominant, and they haven't been dominant under Tomlin. They've just been like really good, and that's not enough. They have to be dominant. So I do think it's a bit of a fan, be careful what you wish for situation if you move on for Tomlin.
No, yeah, that's exactly. I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was going to say is like, be careful what you wish for, because, man, like it's only a matter of time until you miss on whoever the next coach is. You've had some really good luck for those Steelers fans out there. I just, again, have never quite understood it. And like you said, teams would be tripping over themselves to hire a guy like him. Matt, as always, man, this is a fun one. Like I said before, I love mixing in more of the football talk with you because it's always fun going back and forth. On the way out, as we always do, tell the folks where they can find more of your work.
At Sports Talk Matt on Twitter, X. You can find links to the Daily Juice podcast and BVB, the Bostonian versus the Book, my 2 shows that you guys can watch throughout the week.
All right, Matt, you're the man. We'll see you back out here again in week 16.
Thanks, guys.
Shout out to Matt. Those are always a good time. Full disclosure, we did have to record that one a little earlier than usual just because I'm out of town the next couple days here. So got a wedding coming up. So I had to make sure and tape this one anyway. And I want to get to more football talk. Again, given the way the season has gone for the Raiders, we may mix in some of that more and more. Obviously, we're going to be diving more into the draft and those storylines as the Raiders are now looking to try and secure the top pick overall. And I think we've done that in the last couple episodes. But it's always fun to talk a little ball with a guy who's very tapped into it, obviously from a betting perspective, but just knows ball and pays attention to a lot of things going on around the league. In the meantime, guys, it is time for my pick. As I alluded to, you know where I'm going to this one. I got to pick the Philadelphia Eagles. For starters, we saw the Raiders struggle to stop the run against the Broncos, a team that has struggled to run the football. And it just so happens that now they're going to be taking on Saquon Barkley and this Philly front who's got a great offensive line that, yes, has had some injury issues and all that stuff, but it seems like Lane's going to be coming back in this one as well. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Saquon. This is an offense that has struggled in recent weeks. They're going to be trying to prove a point. Like Matt said, take them the over on their points because they're going to try and pour it on and really get right as they've got a tough stretch coming their way here and are really trying to make some moves as the playoffs come around and show people that they are still that team. Also defensively, that defense, that front in particular, I think is going to give this Raiders offensive line some issues. Obviously, like I said, I think that's where Kenny comes in terms of the mobility and being more that gunslinger type. I'm really curious to see how he handles that. I just think that secondary for the Eagles, even though they have struggled with some deep shots at times, we talked about that with Jason Dumas earlier in the week. I just don't think the Raiders are going to be able to get it done this week against what is a very solid Philly team. I know they're not the same team they were last year, but they're still a really quality group. I think, again, it's going to be kind of a get-right game for them, which I hate saying. But, so we'll see how it all goes on Sunday. We'll be back here in the home studio breaking it all down for you guys after the game with our post-game reaction podcast, so make sure you tune in for that. In the meantime, though, that's all I got for you. As always, thanks for watching and listening, and we will catch you guys on Sunday. Have a good one.